found it.
Hey folks, it's me, John. And John Galvin's getting a chapter-approved book. So welcome to the Giga Rambles. This is December 1st. Woo! We're in the final stretch of the year. 1 month left. A little under a month for Christmas, which is always exciting. Tons of holiday shopping to be done still. I know that my family always waits a little bit before, just to make sure that everyone coordinates properly. But John, what's up? How you doing?
Good. Enjoying the first day of December. It's a little chilly, but fantastic.
Yes, and it's going to get colder, I know, for sure. There's a cold snap coming, I'm sure. It was nice. I was actually able to prime some stuff I was anticipating not being able to prime for at least until like February or, March or something. But it got up to 65 degrees here in Ohio.
I was able to sneak out and prime yesterday in between the rainstorms. So
Nice.
It was pretty good.
Yes. So I do love that Chaos Black. It goes on smooth even with humidity.
Yep. Yeah.
It's great. So we got so much to talk about today. So we got chapter approved. We have all the holiday releases that are coming out. We have the Fallout board game that just came out. So much to talk about. Maybe a little bit of ranting with the chapter approved because there's some mess ups in here.
I don't even see a Fallout board game left. I think we're all sold out.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Nice. There you go.
Also, I can't find the live stream.
Really? It says we're live now. Yeah, it's on our page.
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's not showing up for me.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, sorry. Technical difficulties on my end. But yeah, I think we're all out of the Fallout. I don't see a single copy left in the store if it wasn't reserved.
Nice. Let me check here and make sure that I can see it as well. Because if I can't see it, then nobody can see it. Are we live? Yeah, here it is.
Okay, cool. It actually just popped up for me.
Okay, great. Awesome. Cool.
We did it.
Yay, we're here. So chapter approved, lots of point changes. That's the major gist of it, but it's not. They wanted to include a whole bunch of other things such as missions and narrative play stuff. But the big things that are drawing attention, of course, are all of the point changes and especially some of the rule clarifications, such as the wound characteristic of models going below 10. You familiar with that one?
What's that?
So they changed the wording from anything with a wound characteristic of 10 or less than 10. You can't target it unless it's the closest thing, right? Visible and whatnot. They now changed it to anything with less than 10 wounds is the wording now.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So
a lot of people
still, right?
Yes. But it's still a lot of people are now saying, well, read as written, it says less than 10 wounds. So if my character has 6 wounds out of a possible 15, then
that's a big bonus to the demon Primarchs. So Magnus and Mortarion benefit from that a crazy amount.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's them trying to simplify the wording for some reason. But if that's on purpose, I'm confused. What do you think would be the reason for them doing that?
In all honesty, I want to say it is because of Magnus and such.
Okay.
Those big demon Primarchs not maybe being a little too. It is because of feedback. Magnus and such.
Turn your laptop.
There we go.
There we go. Nice.
So yeah, no, I want to say it's because of those big guys, those big characters that. Especially versus Ultramarines or the gunline lists, if you don't get first with your demon Primarchs, it's so easy for them to get shot off the board before you even get to act with them. So that might be something to do with it. So if they're going to reduce the mechanics overall, let's say in future updates, the demon book's around the corner, if they change the changeling to say just they could change his -1 to hit to everything within him, and reduce its effectiveness, which would greatly reduce Magnus' survivability unless there was this new mechanic in there. So it could be working as intended, or it could be a simple, a simple typo, someone either.
It's a big typo.
Not necessarily thinking. Well, no, it's a typo with a huge implication. So it could either be, someone who didn't think the wording was you know, I guess rules as intended as opposed to rules as written, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, it's still like, you know, your wound stat has to be less than 10. But I'm sure it'll be clarified. We'll have an FAQ probably within the first couple of weeks of this being out, so
Right.
We'll get the final answer. But
And
I think also the plus thing is the timing of chapter approved is also really good. So, you know, Warzone just finished. They just had this giant tournament. And I don't believe there's another big tournament scheduled until about Adepticon. So now we have like a little break period for the chapter approved to go through and Games Workshop kind of figure out, hey, were these good changes or did we make some mistakes, like potentially this wound characteristic? So there's more or less like a 2 to 3 month break until the next big event to where we're going to see how chapter approved really affect the tournament series.
Yeah, we got a comment here. Joshua says, I'm not a fan of that change, but he can see the lack of fun when your big nasty gets blown off the board. And Thomas says, poke. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, like, I understand what they're doing with the wound characteristic above 10, because it doesn't make sense for a giant monster to hide behind his troops. But I can also see the argument where if Magnus has to lose half of his hit points before he becomes untargetable, you know.
Right. And then his profile goes down as well, so he's less effective, right?
Right. So I could see, you know, like if you just got socked like before the battle even got started, like, you know, you take a missile or a last cane to the face, maybe you're going to shrink back down and try to get some cover before coming back out into the fray. So like I could see that. Now, granted, like a lot of these characters are pretty prideful, so like, you know, maybe they wouldn't do that. But tactically minded, like if I'm running out of the battle and the first thing that happens is me taking a whole bunch of bullets to the face, I'll probably rethink my plans and maybe let some of the grunts take some shots for me.
Right, right. But see, one problem I'm going to have with that playing is I'm going to have to be asking or referencing the individual model every time. So rather than knowing for sure that I can target the big ass model, excuse my language, the big model, then I'll have to then ask my opponent, okay, I can't. How many wounds does he have left? Are you counting up or down? And then you're looking at it saying, okay, well, it has 9 wounds. If you're counting up, then you're counting the number of wounds he's taken versus I don't know how many wounds he has. So it's going to be a lot more bookkeeping that I don't think was intended. I'm not sure.
You know, I'm not sure if it'll be a lot of bookkeeping. And I think someone being consistent on their wound tracking, like, it would be nice if they had something in chapter approved where, but it's hard to do, but like more or less asking your opponent to count down or say, hey, opponent, I need you to let me know when you hit 10 wounds or less, because if not, I'm just going to keep shooting at the guy. Like, you know.
Right.
So I think that's fine, because like me, if I'm playing Magnus and you're playing your Dark Eldar, and you decide to target Magnus first turn, try to whittle him down, I'm going to let you know the moment he hits 10 wounds or less.
Right.
Just because I don't want to get him shot at anymore.
Yeah, I had the post pulled up last night, but when I shut my computer down, it took away the tab. But it showed the exact wording in the comparison. And it says wounds. It doesn't say wound characteristic. And it was very specific about saying wound characteristic before. So there were a lot of folks in the post. I want to say this was like Spiky Bits or one of the other big hobby Facebook groups. And a lot of the people on there were like, folks, it's been very clear for months that wound means basically your starting wounds. So over half the folks on the thread were like, "There's no reason for you to say that just because they took out the word characteristic that now it's suddenly, oh, you know, I'm on the fence about it. I'm not sure. I guess I would read it as raw. Like raw means read as written. There's also RAI, which is read as intended. So if you ever see those two acronyms, now you know what it means. But it's just, I don't know. That's one change that to me, it makes sense in some regards, but that really changes the way I've been playing it for months now. It came out in August, right? July. So it's almost half a year of playing it, and now it's all welcome back. Half a year of playing it, and now suddenly, now I have to keep track of one extra little thing, which for me, the thing that drew me to 8th edition was the simplification. I could easily pull in my forces, and for Dark Eldar especially, it's super easy. You got blasters, you got splinters, everything wounds on 4s or 6s. Most all of my saves were very similar. And now having to keep track of the different wounds on the different characters to see who I can target is just one extra little thing that I don't necessarily want to keep track of. It's easier for me as a player, especially as a newer player, so to speak. I haven't been doing tabletop for too long. For me to be able to kind of know that this whole battle I can do X, Y, Z, rather than conditional stuff. Conditional stuff throws me off like crazy. Like, oh, I could do that before, and normally I would be able to, but given this certain condition, then now I won't be able to do it. But if I maybe go out of a certain range or stuff, that kind of stuff throws me off like crazy.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's more or less, it's not adding an additional rule, it's just tweaking an existing one. So now, like, when showing a new player, you can be like, hey, when a character is 10 wounds or less, you have to target the, you can't target him, you have to target, something in front of him or whatever. Right. Whatever the rule becomes. And I think it's up to the person controlling the character or monster to say, hey, no, I'm below my threshold. You have to target something else. Right. And I think that's going to be a tournament etiquette thing, or even just a regular gameplay etiquette. So in a lot of other games, if you have a rule or ability, refer to in Magic as like a trigger ability. Like, so if my opponent does X, it's my responsibility to say that I can now activate Y.
Gotcha.
So I think the controlling player of the monster, it's his responsibility to say, no, you can no longer target me, instead of saying, well, you shot him, but you couldn't have shot him, so you don't get your shots. Like, that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
It's going to be, hey, my character is now below 10 wounds. You got to move on to the next thing.
Gotcha.
Now,
always the voice of reason, John. It's great.
So it's also, so if you think about it this way, you allocate your shots before the damage goes through, right? So, I'm going to take my, Imperial Guard squad, or Las Cannon battery or whatever, and they're all going to fire at Magnus. Now, it's 3 individual shots, but it's 1 unit. They've all allocated their shots to Magnus. So I believe the rule would be, regardless of what those first 2 shots do, even if it drops them below 10, the third guy has already targeted him simultaneously, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And one other part of that word change is now it's no longer the closest visible unit. If there's any unit closer, whether they're visible or not. So they
that's the one that kind of bothers me.
Yes.
That one bothers me. Mostly because it doesn't make sense from a outside perspective. Like, like someone who is trying to visualize this battle. If a giant monster is coming towards you, or maybe a medium-sized monster, a man-sized character, glowy, full of awesome power.
Yes.
And you're like, I really want to shoot that guy, but I have a sixth sense feeling that there's a dude hiding behind a building that I need to shoot at before I can possibly target that dude.
Because it's closer.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, I don't know why they. I can maybe see it if someone. I don't know. I don't really know why they did that. What do you think? Why do you think they would have done that?
So I personally don't know. And it might be doing something to where they feel like characters need to be absolutely more survivable under any given circumstance, which is fine. Like, that's a game. That is a purely game design choice instead of like a game aesthetic or narrative choice for a game going out. I mean, that's their choice to do. To me, it's one of those weird disconnects that I hate, that that's something I have to explain to someone while demoing this game or while teaching someone how to play, being like, even if you can't see it, there's a dude closer than the character, so you got to try to go after him. Like that.
And you can't shoot the guy who's closer to you. You can't get him out of the way. You just can't then shoot the character. So because we talked about in an earlier this week about how you don't want to limit the player's like choices in a way, and that seems like a really limiting factor. Like, there's not too many situations. Honestly, thinking back to the games I've played, there's not too many situations where I have done that. Like, I've been forced to like see somebody that's close and hidden, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There haven't been too many situations like that.
Daniel Hesters and Chris both kind of responded. Apparently, people were abusing the line of sight mechanics to snipe out characters. So what they would do is they would have characters move to a position or deploy in a position to where all they could possibly see was that character and negate the character, like, nearest model. So that's why they instituted. So it wasn't necessarily like. So yeah, it goes back to a characters they found out weren't as survivable as they wanted them to be. So
right,
they instituted this rule. So yeah,
okay,
good job on the gaming community to find a way to break that super quick. So
right, that could launch me into a whole rant about people trying to abuse rules just to get by.
Yeah.
Well, the acronym is WAAC, win at all costs.
Yes.
And that's fine in like tournaments, I guess, but it's when you're trying to break rules on purpose, that it like wound characteristic of 10 or less is a very specific thing, and people trying to abuse different things. I don't know. It's a little irritating sometimes.
So, yeah, like there's pluses and minuses to both of those rules, but if it goes to overall game health, and this is what whole chapter approved is about, is promoting game health. Whether it's adding in arbitrary rules to promote characters being used, like, you gotta target the closest guy regardless of line of sight, or the whole when characters drop below 10, you gotta target someone closer. Like, I think those are both healthy things for at least characters to make them survivable. Because what's going to draw you into these games, like, and I work at a game store. We both work at a game store.
Right.
What draws people into these games are those giant centerpiece models, those characters, those cool monsters, and all that. And the last thing you want is for them to be taken off the board before they get to act. No one wants to see a bloodthirster just sit on a deployment zone and then fall over before it gets to swing its axe.
Right.
Like, that's not appealing to new players. That's not going to get people interested into this game.
It's true. It's true.
So yeah, like making sure that the centerpieces are able to act and be proactive and through an entire game is pretty important, while not overshadowing everything else. And it's a careful balance. And so with the stuff is they're looking towards that. They're trying to get to that nice balance where characters feel proactive and survivable enough to where they are doing something through most of the game, unless you do something stupid and then you just immediately die. But and then also making sure that infantry feels impactful and able to interact with these characters, whether it's debuffing them or killing them or doing whatever kind of thing. So
yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Hero Hammer was a problem in like Warhammer Fantasy for a while, where they put in all these heroes with these amazing abilities and survivability to them, to where it overshadowed infantry to the point where people were just maxing out heroes and lords as much as possible and taking the bare minimum infantry.
Right.
We kind of had that happen at Warzone with that Greater Lord of Change from Forge World, Magnus, some Malefic Lords, Mortarion. Like, that's getting close to the Hero Hammer, and they're trying to dial that back and trying to make characters point costed correctly, and making sure infantry is also a attractive choice.
Yeah, and for anyone that doesn't know about the points for a lot of the Forge World models, a lot of the Forge World models were actually reduced in costs, but we're talking about the big ones like Stormbird, etc. They basically made them non-competitive in a sense. Not that they're not competitive, but they were, I guess, overly efficient compared to their counterparts.
So it seems like kind of to me, it was a bit of a knee-jerk where they said, go ahead, double the point cost across the board on a lot of the big stuff that was seeing a lot of tournament play. And so I expect in the future for them to get kind of balanced down and reduced in cost and all that. But we'll see how that goes. We had that podcast where we talked about it before, where I kind of feel bad for folks who drop a lot of money on Forge World things, thinking that they're getting the most competitive list possible.
That's not why you buy Forge World.
No, it's not, and that's what they're trying to get to. Is you don't have to buy Forge World to be competitive, and I feel like that's what Games Workshop, like, this was one of the big things that they want to get through with the chapter approved, is Forge World is not your go-to for the tournament lists.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's overall good. I really need to get into the new missions and stratagems and all that. I hear Orcs got a huge buff.
It's the I forget the name of it.
Stratagem.
It's Mob Up.
Yeah.
Mob Up. Yeah, stratagem. That one's really good.
Daka is a really good stratagem.
Necron's got a couple of boosts, but they don't seem like terribly great.
Yeah.
The reanimation protocols for 1 command point.
Oh, really?
But the Dark Eldar and the Eldar got a really cool, basically, webway ability. So for 1 command point, you can set up any unit. I think I might restrict exactly what units, but you can look up in the Eldar and Dark Eldar part. You can set up a unit
I'm going to say 1,000 cents.
Sure.
I'm not even
nice.
looking at it.
You put a unit into basically orbital strike, the whole 6 inches away from the board edge, but 9 inches from an enemy. For 3 command points, you can actually put 2 units, and Dark Eldar you can include beast units, which is awesome. So that's basically taking them a little more toward the raiding side, which is really fun. So before, with my homunculus, for instance, they can now set up in Deep Strike, I think. I didn't read it exactly, but I was listening to the Long War Network as they were talking about it. Webway is really cool. Mobility is always awesome, and one of the better mechanics in the game currently is Deep Strike being a standard, basically, ability, but with unique names, etc. And slightly different variations. It's really, really, really fun. Look up Thousand Suns.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice. It's awesome. Chapter Approved is, you know, it. Oh, I can understand why a lot of people are upset about one thing about it, though. There's been a lot of FAQs, and there's been a lot of changes, and now for some things, depending on how you want to build certain units or your army, you might now have to reference Chapter Approved, an index, codex, FAQs. Yes. It's a little bit much at once, so I'm really, really hoping that they bring the app out soon, because if that can be the standard, use the app, and it combines everything, life is good, right? Yeah,
so I'm going to reference both Malifaux and War Machine and Hordes. They both actually just released these great apps that, excuse me, Malifaux just released their app. War Machine has had their app for a while, but War Machine's integrating more and more features into their app.
Nice, good.
One of the big ones being the fact that they can do these dynamic updates. So whenever they have to change a rule, whether it be a core rule to the game, like saying you can't target your own guys with power attacks, or modifying the stats on a particular card, they can do that through a dynamic update and just update the app. And then your reference material, you don't have to buy new reference material, you don't have to go to a new book, you can just use that same app and all that and be good. So it's an important thing to have, and I'm kind of excited to see where they go, where Warhammer goes with this. Malifaux just got out their app, where I think it's called Bad Things Happen.
I like it.
If you guys play Malifaux at all, or even just want, like, you're kind of a tech person, want to see like a good app for a game, check it out. It is a gorgeous, well-designed app
awesome.
that hopefully will put a new standard for gaming industries trying to design something.
I think
design a digital app.
That's part of the future of the gaming industry for sure, is the being able to have an app that you don't need to reference multiple books. I think rule sets are going more and more on the freer side. People want to know how a game plays before they invest in it, and that's great. Company of Iron, all online for free. I've read up on the rules, and I'm already looking at several things that I want to buy model-wise. So yeah. I think GW, maybe can take a lesson in that. Say, Chapter Approved doesn't really need to. How much is it retail?
What? How much is what?
Chapter Approved.
Chapter Approved. I want to say it's $30.
Mm-hmm. So in the long term, if we're thinking about industry trends, then I think things will be more toward that free information, but bring out more models more often. Because then you can just update the app with a new model and new stats, right? Which is awesome.
What I really love is people are freaking out about 3D printing and 3D design, like kind of strangling the game community. It's actually improved it. Like we are seeing more new releases more often from all these game companies due to the prevalence of people getting into 3D sculpting and new technology with 3D printing. It's actually amazing. Like, personally, I think we're in like a golden age of miniature gaming.
Yep.
All these companies are pumping out these gorgeous, well-designed models. Private Press, Malifaux, Games Workshop. We see new stuff from them every month, like new models. With Games Workshop, we have the lieutenants for both the Blood Angels and Dark Angels coming out this month. We kind of saw them previewed in White Dwarf, and people were asking if it was a mod or not, and apparently it wasn't, so that's kind of cool.
And it's his Primaris, right?
Yeah, these are Primaris guys. So it's a really cool thing to see. And supposedly, rumors are saying on the back of the new Demon Codex, we see some new models for the Demon line coming out too. Should be either end of December or beginning of January.
Good.
But these are all rumors. We haven't gotten confirmed anything. Games Workshop keeps pretty tight lips about what's coming out. Like, you guys pretty much find out the same time we do, unless it's been rumored, like on a third-party site. But yeah, apparently new Greater Unclean one, Slimulex or Slimux from the Blight War box is becoming a 40K character, which is awesome. I love that model. I'll be happy to see him more. And then there's apparently another new Nurgle character coming out with it. So those are all
nice,
all good things that we're going to see. So
yeah, it's exciting. I was looking at models for Wild West Exodus. They look amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me a lot of like if XCOM were in the 1800s. Because you have the Watchers, who are basically the aliens from XCOM. You've got Sectoids, which are the Greys, and lots of games have Greys, but these guys look really, really cool. I mean, the rifles are nice. It's almost the aesthetic of them is almost like XCOM meets Halo, which to me is just awesome.
I can see that.
Yeah. But the rules are online for free, so I've been looking it up, and I was okay. I can now say for sure that I want to invest in this faction for whatever reason, which is great.
Yeah, and with that Dust as well. Dust, everything looks like it's 3D sculpted, so all digital sculpts. I was able to see the Cthulhu renders, which were pretty awesome. So it's all exciting. It's all great that these mini companies are doing what gets us excited about their games, which is make more minis, right? Like,
right. It's plastic crack for a reason.
Yeah, no, we all get into this hobby for both social reasons and hobby reasons and all that, but like we choose our game most of the time based on what looks cool to us, and the fact that they're able to make more new cool stuff means that excitement stays longer, new people get interested. So like all of our communities have been like growing by a pretty substantial margin throughout the last like year or two. 40K being the biggest one because 8th edition just kind of brought new and old people in. Yep. So, and the new model lines are definitely helping.
That actually brings up a topic that I wanted to talk to you about, John, about accessibility. Accessibility in games has increased, but what can, besides companies creating games to be more accessible, what can us players do you think, can we do, and people in the comments, put it down below what you think, what can we do to help get players feeling like it's more accessible? Because I know for me, when I first looked at it, the whole wall of GW felt a little bit intimidating. Now it's nothing, right? Because once you're in the hobby, it's whatever. It's like, okay, that's Dark Eldar, that's Eldar. These are the different factions. It all makes sense. But when you're first looking at it, it can maybe be a little bit intimidating. Then you have to think about putting your models together. Then you have to paint the models. And then you have to figure out the rules. And then you have to maybe buy a ruler and then buy all the other things you have, like all the dice. What could we do to maybe make that process feel a little more accessible?
What I would say is, one, be in the store. Be in whatever store that you choose. Hopefully it's Gigabytes.
Yes.
I feel like we have a great store. But be excited about what you're doing and be welcoming. It might, like it's broad and abstract, but the best way to get new people into the games and get them excited and get them into playing is by seeing you either building in the store, painting in the store, playing in the store, and you being excited and motivated about what you're doing. A lot of times I'm able to get people into a new game by you know, they're looking at the 40K wall, and I see a 40K game going over on the side, I'll be like, hey, let's take a break from looking at all the box minis, and let's have you go look at an actual game that's being played. And we have such a great community that so many of these guys are just, you know, nice and welcoming. So I'll bring them over. I think Price was here on Tuesday. He was playing a game, and I was like, hey, Price, here's a new guy. He's interested in 40K. Price was super excited, was explaining what was going on, how to get into it, and all that. And he had such a level of enthusiasm and such a nice nature to him for it that the person got excited and was more motivated to get into the hobby and do some more research and see what was playing on the table versus, like, you know, Tyranids, and I think it was like Tyranids versus Necrons or something like that. But he was like, oh, I'm not interested in those factions, but it's nice to see the game actually being played and seeing who's in the community. The community is so often such a strong selling point that no matter how daunting, like, the model selection on the wall is, if the person knows that the people they're going to be playing against are fun people to play, then it's an easy decision for them to invest, whatever faction they choose to be in. So I think being excited is such a big part to getting people into it. Same with model building and all that sort of stuff. It's so much easier to show someone how to do something when it's actively being done. So yeah, it's one of those things where I just, if you want to get a new community, more people into the game, be here playing. We had a couple new guys start War Machine over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of it happened because people were here showing off models or playing games. And I was once again able to bring them over, introduce them to the community that plays that game, and, you know, they immediately started building lists or talking about their favorite pieces and all that. And so it makes it much easier when a patron of Gigabytes says, yes, this is a game you should be playing, as opposed to someone who works here.
Right. You know, because maybe someone subconsciously might think that there's a bias. We just want to get people in the game. I mean, the whole point of what we do for the live streams, for for the store, is to get people playing. I'm thinking about a slogan, maybe like Gigabytes Cafe, getting you into the game, something like that. Because that's what we want to do. That's the whole point. We want to see people enjoying their time. The reason we have food there, so that, you know, people aren't hungry when they're playing.
Absolutely.
You know, we have a large selection so that people can try out different games. And next topic, which would be great, is playing games that are not just the big staples, right? So how do we play? Because one aspect of smaller games is the fact that with smaller communities, it's a little bit harder to find good times or people to play with. So I'm thinking right now, like Warzone Resurrection. Awesome game. I actually did a live stream yesterday on the Warzone Mutant Chronicles group, and I had 15-20 people at any given time watching it, and those were all people that just played Warzone from around the world. And we were talking about balance changes, and the developers, I'm talking with the developers about, you know, how we can change these things to be more more approachable, or, you know, make this more fun or that more fun. But how would you suggest maybe getting into the games that are smaller, even if it means not necessarily guaranteeing that you're going to be able to play it if you just come up here, right?
Right. So, it's there's two things that I think need to happen to have any game really take off in a store. You know, you need a champion for that game. So, like I was talking about excitement, all it takes is really one person to be really excited about a game to get it going.
Right.
So someone has to be really excited about that game, and then they also have to be able to commit to a scheduled time to be at a store. So it's one of those things where it might seem a little daunting to a person who wants to get, let's say, Warzone going up at a consistent date. But I promise you, if a guy is excited and trying to pull people in and comes up, you know, every Friday at 6 p.m. to play Warzone, he'll be able to get more and more people into the game because they now know that there is a person and a time in which they can always play that game.
Gotcha.
It's one of those reasons why we're able to get, you know, 40K, War Machine, Infinity, all those games, Malifaux, all them growing, because I can tell anyone who's interested in that game to come in at that point. Like, you know, they don't have to worry about scheduling something online. They don't have to worry about finding someone, because that's a barrier to entry for a lot of people. Is they don't want to go ask someone they don't know to come in to the store to play a game. You know,
right.
But if I can tell them, it's like, oh, you're interested in Warzone? Come in Friday, 6 p.m. You know, Joe's always here playing. Like, you know, or he's always here building or working on his models. We'll be happy to talk to you about it. That's all it takes. But it's a tough thing to do, especially to get things going. Like, you know, it's one of those things you got to realize you got to put time and effort to build a community. And us as a store, we try to build our communities as best as possible, but it does take outside people. Like I said,
I would consider us more facilitators.
Correct. Yeah. We're more of an event hosting space. Now, it's always great when one of us plays a game. Like if we, I'm an active War Machine and Hordes player. I play Warhammer Fantasy. I have an Infinity Army. I have all these things. It's great that I play a lot of the games. It's not every one of them. But I can't, you know, I can't play every game at all times. You know, right. I need people who want to have these games grow as well. So, yeah.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yo, absolutely. It's great. So for anyone watching, let us know what a game that you're interested in that you haven't necessarily played. And then we can, you know, send you what that group is or whatever. Because for me, the Wild West Exodus, I know we just got it in recently, but that's definitely one I'm interested in. Purely for the models. I'm not sure how the game plays at all, but the models are just amazing. They're awesome.
I do like the aesthetic of it. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff in it. Especially as like War Machine or Hordes player, it's like where War Machine's kind of like you know, very steampunk Victorian to like almost Civil War. This is, you know, steampunk Wild West, so and a little bit advanced from steampunk as well. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
The factions are cool. You've got the Native American faction. You've actually got the Confederacy faction, which is interesting. There are a lot of cloaks and stuff, which is interesting. You've got the Union faction. You've got the Watchers, which is the, you know, sectoids from XCOM, basically. And if you look up there's actually a turret, which I want to get just as having a turret because I want to stick it somewhere in my office. And it looks really, really cool. It reminds me of like something from Halo. Like I said, it's very nice.
Right. Yeah. Wild West Exodus is picking up. We just got in the mini rulebooks for anyone who I believe was bought a starter. That was the promotion they were running.
Nice.
So we have those coming out. People are picking them up. We have a lot of people who have played in the past that are now getting back into it because there's a new interest in it.
Nice.
So it's a really great time. If you guys are interested in Wild West Exodus, this is the time to build that community that will last. So get in the store, be seen playing, be seen building models, talk about it. Even if it's not the game that you're currently playing, let's say you're playing historical, but you have Wild West Exodus. Someone comes up and watches your historical gameplay, you're like, hey, have you checked out Wild West Exodus? I have my models over here. I'm really interested in playing the game. Would you like a demo with me, or would you like to try to play a starter game? You know, that sort of thing. And it's using things, your hobby to segue into like other games and systems that you'd like to try out. People need to know that there's a community or that there's someone to play against to get things going.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we got a couple more minutes here. Big holiday releases that you can think of.
Big holiday releases I can think of. First things first, chapter approved. Get it. This officially released this Saturday. We got our shipment in early, which is one of the reasons why we're able to talk about it a little bit more in depth. But yes, if you haven't pre-ordered, it's already pulled. We got more in, so even if you haven't pre-ordered it, we should have plenty of copies available to you this weekend. So that's really exciting.
Battle Force boxes?
Battle Force boxes. I got them all over here. I probably won't go through them all, but...
Oh, wow.
There's 4 Battle Force boxes for both Age of Sigmar and 40K. They
awesome.
Are tremendous deals. And it's a great way to get into either a new faction or a new system. Anyone who hasn't played Age of Sigmar, give it a chance. It's actually a really solid game, and if you know how to play 8th edition, you already know how to play Age of Sigmar. This this is the last Tau Battle Force box we have available. So if you guys haven't picked one up or were interested in it, please let us know. We will put it behind for you, and you can pick it up this week. But these Battle Forces are incredibly limited. I think the Astra Militarum one is already sold out online, so whatever we have in store for it is what we're going to have. So if it's something that you want, once again, call in the store. We'll pull it behind for you. You guys can pay for it, do whatever, and be happy that you got a really good deal on these things.
Ian asks what night Dust 1947 is.
So Dust right now has been mainly seen on Wednesday, but I believe Jim is doing Tuesdays soon, or now I know he's up here Tuesdays for it. But normally it was Wednesdays. I wouldn't mind seeing it on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are I'm a little bit more free to come up and play.
Nice.
I'm just getting into Dust right now, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Chinese force. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Mark's getting into it. I have the Cthulhu Mythos starter army, which I can't actually play starter games with because it's too expensive. So I'm going to be picking up the Mercenary starter because it can be used with the Mythos army set.
Right. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Jim Godine is our champion for Dust. He has worked with the company, the U.S. distributor of Dust, so much, and he's been such a great force for the community, constantly promoting the game, constantly giving out demos, always hyping up the new releases, to the point where the game's back on the pickup. We have a lot of new players. I mean, I just started it myself last week, so the game's easy to learn. I didn't realize it was going to be such an intuitive system.
It really is.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like an easy system, but it's intuitive. So I'm really surprised by that. I love it. I'm excited to play more, and I think me and Jim are playing on Tuesday morning, but he might be in here Tuesday evening.
And the really smart thing they've done is they've got pre-painted boxes that you can get, or pre-primed boxes, which is the one that I'm going to go for, if I can.
We always carry the pre-assembled, pre-primed boxes. We can order in the pre-painted stuff, but it has to be special order. So if you're interested in it, let us know. But I like the pre-prime stuff too because I like the paint. So the Cthulhu starter or the Cthulhu army set, I airbrushed in an hour.
Nice.
And it looks gorgeous. Not to toot my own horn, but I did a pretty good job of matching what the box set looked like. I just now need to come in and paint up the bases and do some details and call it a day.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited whenever I'm able to knock out an army in an hour, plus a couple extra minutes for details. But yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, it's really good. I love the figures. I was surprised about how much I actually like the aesthetic of Dust. I've never been super interested in historicals, but Dust is so far off from actual historical, design. It's Dust 1947.
Germans have monkeys, don't they? And zombies?
Yes, they have monkeys and zombies, which is why I'll never play German. Two of the things I don't like in one faction. What I do like is they previewed one of the Cthulhu army characters, and it's a lady with a saber-toothed tiger with her.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that, and there might be some Hollow Earth stuff eventually, or at least there's enough Hollow Earth stuff to say that there's a saber-toothed tiger still in existence. So I like that.
That's awesome. All right, it is about time for you to open the store up. So, folks who are in Atlanta area, come play some games at Gigabytes Cafe. It's a lot going on. It's Friday. Friday Night Fights is tonight.
Yes, Friday Night Fights. This is going to be the first Friday night. Or no, it won't be the first Friday night. Rob has something special going up for tonight. So it's kind of exciting. Come and check it out. It's a new month, so new start of it. We look forward to seeing everyone out here. I'll be here tonight playing games, hopefully, running around with some War Machine. Got Barnabas, Lord of Blood. So
that's awesome. So come out and play, folks, and have a good time. And then check our events page for tournaments, etc. There's a big charity tournament for Toys for Tots for 40K on the 17th. So you can check that on
Also,
the event.
yes, on the 16th as well, the War Machine and Horse Tournament is taking donations for Toys of Tots instead of entry fees.
That's right.
So be mindful of that as well. So I believe we're getting our donation bins in on the Friday, the 15th, and it'll run through the 17th.
Awesome.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have 3 events all dealing with Toys for Tots. Please donate to this charity. Give someone else a Merry Christmas. So yeah, we'll have more details about that coming up. I believe there'll be a special Friday Night Fights on the 15th involving Toys for Tots. So
nice.
Look out for that.
That's great. Awesome. John, thank you so much. Everybody, have a great day, and we will see y'all next time.